by day and night. I feel like a king, oh yeah. And baby, can't help but stare. Such a rush, baby. Oh, when you touch me, baby. Such a rush, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and dolls, cats and chicks, you're listening to Viva, ENT, rock, pop, and soul, and sometimes dead. I'm Devin, the trucking dude.
Hey, dudes! Gonna keep on trucking?
Yep, to the next show. And in the passenger seat with me is it's Darren Camp.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, welcome back aboard.
Yes.
And our
Glad to be here.
driving the steering wheel of this truck is our producer, Eric.
Hey, it's Eric CC Rider.
We got all sorts of trucks to move today because we got a wall of sound.
Literally.
Grateful Dead is our topic today.
Yeah.
And
something I know a lot about.
Phil Lesh passed away recently.
Yeah, that was very sad. And, of course, they just received those Kennedy Award, Center Awards. And Phil, because he was listed on the roster before he passed, when they nominated, he got his posthumously.
Yep. So
yeah.
I understand you've seen a few of these Grateful Dead concerts.
I have seen a few of them. I've seen 11, which is an interesting coincidence because the Grateful Dead has a song called The 11. And so I thought that was very, fitting that I saw 11 shows with Jerry.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, have you seen any Grateful Dead bands?
Only footage on TV and stuff. Okay. But I tell you what, my dad is a big Grateful Dead fan. And, the Touch of Grey video, and Touch of Grey, I believe, Grateful Dead's biggest hit, which came out many years after they had formed and had been putting out music for a long time.
Sure.
The dog in the video for Touch of Grey is from my hometown of Redding, California. So that was always a little bit of something that we took pride in Redding, California, because there's not a lot to take pride in there. But that the famous dog from Touch of Grey was just like me from Redding.
Well, have you even seen any tributes to them?
No. I don't really seek them out, but, when I hear them on the radio or, like I said, see footage or whatever, I think, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, I just saw the Dark Star Orchestra at the Showbox.
Yeah, that must have been a great show.
4 hours. And then Andy Coban always is like every Monday at the Blue Moon is always playing Grateful Dead. So
yeah, and we've seen him at least once or twice.
Oh, I've seen him many times. Yeah.
Has there ever been a band with a more metal name and aesthetic that was decidedly not metal than the Grateful Dead?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I was listening to them this morning. I kept dozing off. It's like I was so relaxed listening to sampling all these Grateful Dead songs. And there's so many more than I've ever imagined.
Oh yeah, they have a ton of songs that they rotate through when they play or when they would play live.
They're kind of like Fish. They're the original jam band.
Yeah.
Like the pioneering godfathers of the jam band world. Some would
sure.
say.
And, of course, when Jerry passed away, and then the Grateful Dead sort of disbanded, a lot of the Fish people, or a lot of the Deadheads became Fish heads. They ended up turning to that band for their touring needs.
So they also had another band, the Warlocks, and they're Mother McCreed's Uptown Jug Champions.
Yeah, well, so it started out in the very beginning. It was Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Champions, and then that morphed into the Warlocks, which was really sort of the real beginning of Grateful Dead.
Again, a very metal name for a non-metal group.
Yeah, exactly. And then, they decided to change it. after a point in a dictionary, according to legend.
And the
A
meaning
random
behind
point
it.
into the dictionary.
And you got your Grateful Dead shirt on, as
Yep,
do
you
I.
do too. Yep,
Yep.
with your dancing bears. And I got my Grateful Dead tattoo, my one and only tattoo. So you know I'm a Deadhead.
So you're
if that's my only
authentic
tattoo.
Deadhead. Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw him 11 times from 83 to 95. And as we talked about when we were pulling in, within 100 days of his passing, we saw 4 shows in May of 95.
And that was in the Seattle area? Or?
2 of them in Seattle at the Memorial Stadium, and then 2 down in Portland at Portland Meadows Raceway.
And you've also seen him in California.
Yep, saw him in California. My second show was 12/28/84. That was the second show I saw of them, yeah. And it was the first show of the New Year's run that year. And that one was a really particularly cool show because that night they debuted 2 songs that would be in their rotation for a while live. They debuted 900,000 Tons of Steel, which was on that In the Dark Touch of Grey album. And then also Day Tripper by the Beatles was the encore. And that was the first time they had ever played that live.
They play a lot of covers, but they definitely put their own spin to it. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. They've got a lot of cover material. But they do it their own way.
Jerry Garcia is like prolific on that guitar. I mean, he just for improvisation.
He was a master. And I was lucky because he had, of course, his famous accident when he was, 8 or 9, and lost part of his middle finger.
Yeah, and brother was cutting wood, and I
Yes.
guess, missed.
Yes, and cut off part of his finger. But luckily enough, it was on his right hand, and so it didn't affect, fingering chords and stuff on the left hand up on the neck. He just had to learn how to pick, differently.
Well, they got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 1994, so that was...
Yeah. And at least that happened before Jerry passed.
I think I feel a song coming on.
Yeah, I think we got to introduce folks in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know the Grateful Dead. Here's one of their earliest hits, went to number 69 in 1970. It's called Uncle John's Band.
Stranger at your door. Think this through with me. Let me know your mind. Whoa, what I want to know is, are you kind? It's a buck dancer's choice, my friends. Better take my advice. You know all the rules by now, and the fire from the ice.
That's from their third album, Working Man's Dead.
Won't you come with me?
Yeah, that was a great album.
Oh, what I want to
Now, for a band whose shadow is so large, they really are legendary. Whether you like them or not, they're a group that everybody thinks of when they think of the great 60s bands, right? It's surprising how little they bothered the charts, They did have some minor hits, but they're really few and far between. Kind of surprising for such a huge audience that they had, and for, again, their cultural impact.
Right.
Yeah.
But their goal wasn't really, their focus wasn't really to make radio hits. It was just to make good music.
Absolutely. And if you look at a lot of the bands that came out after them, I mean, that are, have these huge audiences, but didn't really get into the charts so much. There's that kind of touring until you are, super successful, but not releasing hit singles kind of formula that other bands took, someone like, say, Radiohead has, maybe had 2-3 hits that have been in the top 100 or whatever, but there's no denying they're one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah. And as we were driving over, I was telling Devin about how in the decade of the 1990s, the Grateful Dead was the second largest grossing band or artist from concert revenue, and number one being, of course,
The Rolling Stones.
the Rolling Stones. But it's amazing because Jerry died in 1995. So that's really only covers half of that decade, and they were still number two.
And then I was born in 1995.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I believe it because they were definitely not afraid to merchandise themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I was growing up, I thought of Jerry Garcia mostly as like a tie salesman.
Right.
Because he was on like TV promoting these ties that he designed and made. I mean, more power to him. But I mean, you see that now with like rappers and stuff all going into fashion and having their own like lines of clothing and stuff. And Grateful Dead were pioneers there as well.
Right. Well, yeah, and Jerry had his finger, no pun intended, into a lot of different pies and stuff. He was a painter. He was doing some painting and stuff and doing a lot of interesting stuff. They had I guess they had a good, some guy they hooked up with, and I'd have to look up his name, but a lawyer who helped them with their merchandising and their PR and stuff, and really did well for them. Yeah.
And they played a lot of like free concerts, like for anti-Vietnam War student protests, and they got signed on with Warner Brothers in 1967 with their first, and they gave them unlimited studio time. So
and that was the year that I was born.
Yeah,
it was that year that their first album came out.
So a lot of coincidence. Well, Summer of Love too, 1967.
Yep, I was born just after that.
Because they were in San Francisco. That was their big. That's where they got started.
Oh yeah, that's where basically the hippie revolution was born.
Yeah. Well, let's hear another well-known track from the Grateful Dead. This is Truckin'. Went to 64 on the charts back in 1970.
And if you hear the live version of it, from Europe 72, Bob Weir actually makes a joke about how somebody, a DJ in Turlock, California, played this song on the radio, and that's how it became like a charting hit.
Wow. Yeah, this from the fourth album, American Beauty.
Yes.
Arrows of neon and flashing marquees out on Main Street. Chicago, New York, Detroit, and it's all on the same street. A typical city involved in a typical daydream. Hang it up and see what tomorrow brings.
Dallas got a soft machine. Houston, too close to New Orleans. New York got the ways and means and just won't let you be.
Most of the cats that you meet on the street speak of true love. Most of the time they're sitting and crying at home. One of these days they know they gotta get going. Out of the door and down to the street all alone.
Trucking like a doodah man once told.
And they're still trucking in some iteration with the Dead Company.
Yeah.
And
they're going to keep on trucking forever if they can help it. But yeah, they've got John Mayer, of course, playing the role of Jerry. They got Bob Weir from the original band and Mickey Hart from the original band. They have Oteil Burbridge, who was from the Allman Brothers, some other bands, playing bass. And then they've got Jay, oh goodness. See, now I can't remember his name. Jay something playing drums, second drummer.
And they played at the Sphere, and your friend Reid.
Yeah, Reid
shared
Schmidt.
some of that footage, and it was incredible what they can do with the.
Went and had a great time. Said it was unbelievable, incredible, and shared some.
Speaking of incredible, thank you, Eric, for suggesting about that REM show. Guess who showed up to the REM tribute?
Oh, Darren?
Well, Darren was there too.
Well, I showed up, but no, some special guests showed up.
So the opener had a couple of the presidents of the United States of America.
Oh, fantastic.
They had Chris Ballou and Dave Detterer.
Yeah.
But
from
then the
Presidents.
real surprise
I'm
was
going to
that
say Peter Buck.
Peter,
Yep,
yeah,
that was it.
Peter Buck showed up.
Because he lives here, so it would make sense for him to
He
show
said he
up.
drove up from Portland, and the funny thing was is after the show, we went out by the backstage door, and there was a really nice high-end, luxury van with Oregon plates on it. So I figured that was probably his chariot.
It's the
Maybe,
Buckmobile.
Buckmobile.
Well, good for you guys for checking that out. I imagine that was a great show.
Oh, it was unbelievably great.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, surprised Michael Shannon. I'm a fan of his acting, so I had no idea that he was a singer. So pretty cool that he's able to do both. He's a double threat.
Yeah.
And they're talking about coming back next year and playing some different albums. So.
Yeah, playing another album, so that's cool.
Very cool. It sounds like they got the blessing from REM as well, so that's always a cherry on the cake.
Yeah, I read that that was only the second time that Peter has done that, like joined that band on stage and done a thing. So
that was very
pretty
special.
Cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's like you can't always get what you want. I wanted to go see Cheap Trick that night, but we got what we needed. We saw REM instead.
Yeah, I think we saw the better show.
And especially it was all this weather. It's got me wanting to eat all this ice cream, all this Cherry Garcia.
Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's.
Theory was like, I don't really know how to process that.
That was one of Ben and Jerry's original celebrity themed ice cream flavors.
Yeah, one of their
too.
first ones. Yeah, that was great.
Here's U.S. Blues from the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, U.S. has got me got some blues right now.
This from the album From the Mars Hotel from 1974.
I've seen this one as an encore like at least twice.
How do you do? Give me 5. I'm still alive. Ain't no luck. I learned to duck. Check my pulse. It don't change. Stay 72. Come shine or rain. Wave the flag. Pop the bag. Rock the boat. Skin the goat. Wave that flag. Wave it wide.
So there's also Bob Weir and Rat Dog and Phil Lesh and friends. Phil Lesh.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of different iterations, of the band and different groups that they had. Mickey Hart had Mystery Box, which was his sort of side project for a while, and Bob had Rat Dog. I saw both of those bands at the Further Festival. Right after Jerry passed, they created the Further Festival, and so I went to the first one in '96 out at the Gorge, and it was funny because I drove by myself out to the Gorge to go see the Further Fest. So it had like 6 great bands: Hot Tuna, Bruce Hornsby, Los Lobos, Mickey's Mystery Box, and Bob Weir's Rat Dog, and then one other band as well. But anyway,
we had a camera back then.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you have your own YouTube channel devoted to. Well, I mean, we have our YouTube channels, concert archive, but also you have a special other channel about Grateful Dead.
Yeah, Mother McCree's and Warlock's archives, Grateful Dead archives. Yep, and I try to keep up on that one. I need to get back to that. But that's dedicated to just Grateful Dead and the opening bands that I saw them with. Because I've got the Indigo Girls up on that channel, and they were the openers for them in '93 in Eugene. And then also Chuck Berry from '95. They didn't have openers in Seattle, but down in Portland they had Chuck Berry opening for them, and I have those performances up on my channel as well. It's funny because Jerry had just gotten remarried right before then, and his wife was trying to get him off drugs and stuff, and during the Portland run, I remember during one of the shows, I think this is the first of the two shows, that we saw Jerry and his wife standing sort of on the back corner of the stage watching Chuck play. And he had never really done a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? He was mostly backstage doing stuff while the opening band was up there playing. So it was interesting to see him back there with her. But yeah, as I said, unfortunately, less than 100 days later, he had passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they got their start. They played right after the Who destroyed their guitars, so they're kind of sandwiched between the Who and Jimi Hendrix. So it's just like
At Woodstock.
well, this was before Woodstock at another concert. But then Woodstock happened, and that was kind of a disaster. But it was,
Yeah, that was a complete disaster.
they're like, try not to get electrocuted on stage.
Yeah, that was really bad for Bob, where he was really getting shocked a lot because of the rain and the water and the wiring and stuff.
It was all primitive back then, so
Yes,
there's no standards.
Right.
But then they have OSHA these days for now, so
Right.
protect our workers. Well,
Let's hear a little bit of their version of Good Lovin', yeah, which most famously done by the Young Rascals in 1966 was a #1 hit for them. And the Grateful Dead do a fine version of it.
Yes.
So ask my family about what I have. I said, now, doctor, Mr. MD, oh, can you tell what's in me? He said, yeah. All you need, all you really need. You got to have love. Everybody got to have love.
This from their 1978 album called Shakedown Street.
Yeah.
Come on, baby.
how many albums have they released? Like,
Oh, jeez. Well, I mean,
How much time you got?
yeah, I mean,
not enough apparently.
the core albums, of course, are the core albums. The last one was in '89. But and then, of course, there's also the one that was the unreleased album that I was just looking at last night. But they've had so many like official albums that are live shows that have been remastered or remixed or whatever and put back out because they've got Dave's picks and they've got Hunter's tricks and all these different series of live shows that they've put out because they're again brilliant at they retained all the rights, of course, to all their stuff and are brilliant about making money, marketing all that stuff.
Well, they also were cool, the first band to let people tape in the crowd too.
Yeah, and that helps because they've got a lot of material. Of course, they recorded a lot of stuff themselves because, like when you go onto archive.org and you look at shows, particular shows, sometimes there will be 5, 6, 7 versions of that show, and maybe
everyone with their different equipment.
Yeah, and sometimes there are soundboard, versions of the shows, and then a lot of audience recordings and stuff. And one of the funny, interesting things is that lately they have been doing these matrices of they'll take like a soundboard version of a show, and they'll take a really good audience version of the show, and they will somehow
like blend
them together. Yeah, blend them together, and make it sound real good. So anyway, but yeah, I remember seeing a lot of and talking to people at different shows that I went to that were taping that had tickets in the taper section and stuff, and talk to them about their equipment and how they do all their stuff. Very fascinating.
Well, do you have a particular favorite song by them? Or a few songs? Or?
Yeah, I mean, because I was thinking about that. It's almost like, who's your favorite child?
Yeah.
But, I was thinking maybe the one that I told you I was listening to that was gorgeous is Weather Report. That one has an intro that is just, it's acoustic guitar and it's just so gorgeous. But probably my favorite song is a song called Brown Eyed Women.
Okay.
And it is a tale of making rum.
And not to be confused with Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl. It's its own different song, yeah.
That's when she had grown up.
Yep.
Jokes. But yeah, no, that's another good one. And it's funny because Brown Eyed Women, they never did a true studio version of it. It was on...
It's a live only.
Yeah, it's a live only. I think it's on Europe 72. And so anyhow, but it is a great song.
Yeah, they toured Europe. They toured most of the...
Oh, they knew how to tour. They knew how to go wherever they had to go to, hit their fans and fill arenas.
Including Egypt. They went to the pyramids for 3 nights.
Exactly, to Giza. Yeah, and those were great shows. I've listened to those shows many times. Fantastic with Olin Aragig, and like Fire on the Mountain and stuff. Great versions.
And Eric, have you seen the Grateful Dead movie?
I have not.
Well, it's free on YouTube, and I just watched it, and it's kind of a fever dream, but it shows what in 50 years what a concert really would look like, and actually it's about 50 years after the making of it.
Yeah,
and actually concerts look a lot different these days.
Right,
They're a lot more structured.
It's funny. I heard I read, and I had forgotten that Ned Legan, a guy that they sort of collaborated with every so often, was on that. It was in that movie. Yeah, among others.
Well, while I dig up Brown Eyed Woman, here's a little bit of Shakedown Street, the title track from that Shakedown Street album.
Used to be the heart of town. Don't tell me this town ain't got no heart. You just gotta poke around.
Surprisingly funky for them.
Well, that was in the disco era. It was funny because they were funny about stuff like that. They would make attempts, to fit into stuff that wasn't really normally their stuff.
It could only really sound like the Grateful Dead.
Of course.
Yeah.
And Shakedown Street, legendary album song, and not only that, because it's the name of the vendor row.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, where all the Dead T-shirts and all the breakfast burritos.
I imagine the song came first.
Oh, the song came first. Yeah, it was named after that. But because it's so legendary.
Yeah,
and so
from
that's
1979. All right, here's from the Europe 72 album. Here's Brown Eyed Women.
Up the open plow the fields around. Gone are the days when the ladies said, please, Gentle Jack Jones, won't you come to me? Brown-eyed women and red grenadine. The bottle was dusty, but the liquor was clean. The sound of the thunder with the rain pouring down, and it looks like the old man's getting on. 1920 when he stepped to the bar, drank to the dregs of the whiskey jar. 1930 when the wall caved in, he paid his way selling red-eye gin.
So they're also at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967 too. So.
Yeah, you know what famous event happened there, right?
Enlighten me.
Jimi Hendrix burned his guitar.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was at Monterey in 7.
Incredible. Yep. And they also played before 600,000 people. This is in with the Allman Brothers Band and the band at Summer Jam at Watkins Glen. So
Oh yeah, that's up in New York, I think.
they've played to an estimated 25 million people, more than any other band, with audiences of usually 80,000 attending a single show. So
Yeah, sometimes.
over 2,000 shows they've played. So
Yeah, incredible. Like I said, they really knew the formula of how to, tour and make money, because they knew they weren't going to make it from the record companies off of the
Right.
records. That they knew that was a pipe dream. Said,
They only scored one top 10 hit
Exactly.
in their career. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah.
and that's Friend of the Devil.
No, that's
No, that would be Touch of Grey.
Touch of Grey. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my heart, it's Friend of the Devil.
Well, yeah, let's hear maybe a little bit of Friend of the Devil if Eric can pull it up.
Yeah, let me find that. But I've got Alabama Getaway lined up right now. This is from their Go to Heaven album from 1980.
Yeah.
And this was a minor hit. It went to number 68.
This was the second album I ever bought in my life.
Alabama's trying to nut. Before I have to hit him, I hope he's got the sense to run. The reason the poor girls love him, promise them everything. While they all believe him, he wears a big diamond ring. Run, Alabama, get away, get away. Alabama, get away, get away. Only way to please me, just sit down and leave and walk away.
Yeah, one of their faster paced tunes.
Yeah. Now I've got
Love that one.
Friend of the Devil here loaded up, ready to go. And it's another one with kind of a metal name. And it just makes me wonder, was there any metal kids out there that no context for the Grateful Dead, just seeing the stickers or whatever, like would go and buy a Grateful Dead album or maybe a single like Friend of the Devil and go, what the heck? But then somehow are won over by it?
Yeah, maybe.
I wonder.
John Mayer was won over when he heard him on Pandora. He's like, I can't stop listening.
Well, here it is, Friend of the Devil.
Sit out one, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight. Ran into the devil, baby, loaned me 20 bills. Spent the night in Utah in a cave up in the hills. Set out running, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight.
This is from the 1970 album American Beauty.
But the devil caught me there. He took my $20 bill and it vanished in the air. I'm running, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight. Got 2 reasons why I cry away each lonely night. The first one's named Sweet Anne Marie, and she's my heart's delight.
Yeah, I'm glad you got back around to this album because, Working Man's Dead and American Beauty both came out in 1970. And just, if the first one of the two of them didn't, make enough noise and, have enough success, the other one, completely just slam dunked and solidified that little spot and propelled them on to, bigger and better things, which is cool. That one is also the one that has Casey Jones on it. And then a lot of other great hits come from that one, Dire Wolf. And anyway, just great, two great back-to-back albums, Ripple and
that was the second album you ever got? Well,
no, that was, I'm sorry, the one that Alabama Getaway was on. Was
what was your first album you ever got?
First album I ever bought was Van Halen 2.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a good album.
Yeah.
Good choices.
Well, speaking of Ripple,
go to heaven.
This is a little bit of Ripple from American Beauty.
Yeah.
if my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp unstrung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? It's
And-
hand-me-down.
This song used in one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, yeah.
The closing scene.
Yeah,
uses
yeah.
this,
When she gets on the bus
Exactly.
and is not going to the math Olympics.
Right.
Alternate reality.
I love that show, and that
Fantastic
ending
show.
was
Yeah.
so great.
And it's wild when you watch that show. It was kind of a bomb at the time. Didn't even get the full first season shown on
Right.
NBC. But everybody involved with that show
was
went
a
on
big
to
hit.
be massive stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren San Giacomo, I think, is in there.
James Franco.
James Franco.
Yep.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think same Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. Yep. Yep.
All of them, basically became pretty
Huge
big
stars, yeah.
Yeah, underrated, and only one season. So
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Linda Cardellini.
Yes.
My bad.
2024, the band was named in the Kennedy Center honors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, as I mentioned before, Phil got his posthumously, but they just had that recently. Well, that's a pretty big honor.
and they're number 57 on the list of greatest 100 artists of all time, according to Rolling Stones. So.
Right, back in 2004. And, that list fluctuates, but that they're on the list is
So on the top 100. That's
pretty hot. Pretty big for them. But again, when you think of them, you don't think of them as this big, huge, I don't know, like you don't think of them like the Rolling Stones, like you think of other bands.
Yeah, you definitely don't think of them as a top 40 band, or at least you didn't until 1987 when they finally scored a top 10 hit with Touch of Grey, which went to number 9. And I think this is personally my favorite Grateful Dead song.
Yeah. Okay. And, you mentioned the dog. Some of my friends.
Great video for this, by the way.
I was just going to say the video was shot in Marin Veterans Auditorium, I think. And some of my friends in college were in the audience. Yeah.
Cool. And it's
Extras.
from the album In the Dark.
In the Dark.
Look so phony. Dollars breaking everywhere. Light a candle, curse the glare. Draw the curtains, I don't care, 'cause it's alright. I will get by. I will get by. I will get by. I will survive.
And this was around the time of the Traveling Wilburys, and I think there was a lot of not only nostalgia, but a lot of the vibe of this kind of music was really in the mainstream at the time. So they kind of got lucky releasing this when they did.
Yeah. I saw it played live, I think 3 times, maybe 4, but the one that was kind of the most special was in '88 in Tacoma Dome. They would have an intermission every show. They'd do a first set, and they were very particular about what songs they'd play in the first set and then what songs they'd play in the second set, and where they placed everything. But at that Tacoma Dome show, they and in the second set they would always do a drum solo, and the other instrumentalists would go off stage and take a break, and then they would come back out and they would do a space jam, so drums in space, and the drummers would go off and take their break. But in Tacoma, they played Touch of Grey coming out of space, and that was the only time they ever did that, which was pretty cool. And like I said, they're
what a moment.
Yeah, they're really funny about their placement of their songs and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Do you know the song Cold Rain and Snow?
I do not.
Okay, but it seems like it's been snowing and
Well, I was
raining
going to
and-
say if we're on In the Dark, we should maybe play also maybe a little snippet of Hell in a Bucket. That is probably the other big hit off of that In the Dark album, and that's a Bob song. Of course, Touch of Grey is a Jerry song. But Hell in a Bucket, they would open up shows with because it is very fast tempo and good way to, get the crowd energized and stuff for a show.
Yeah, and this one features a video with a duck.
With a duck. I was
Yeah,
going to
no,
say,
not a dog.
if the dog was famous in the one, the duck is famous in this video.
Right.
Sounds like another metal song too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it really does.
Here's Hell in a Bucket.
The duck.
Well, I was drinking last night with a biker, and I showed him a picture of you. I said, pal, get to know her, you'll like her. Seemed like the least I could do. 'Cause when he's charging his chopper up and down your carpeted hall, you'll think me by contrast quite proper. Never mind, I stumble and fall. Never mind, I stumble and fall. You imagine me sipping champagne from your brew, or a taste of your elegant pie. I may be going to hell in a bucket, baby, but at least I'm enjoying the ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Yeah, at least I'm enjoying the ride.
It's a good line.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And what's more metal than a chopper and the actual sound of a chopper revving up its engine?
Right.
Well, if I ever have kids, I'm going to have to get the book, The ABCs of the Grateful Dead, a children's book.
Oh, and speaking of which, of course, Grateful Dead was also at another famous moment in history, musical history, but a very negative one. They were at Altamont when the Hells Angels had their little issue during the whole show.
Yeah, with,
and
Rolling
with the
Stones,
Rolling
was it?
Stones, though, because they had hired
That was
them.
bad vibes, yeah.
Yeah, and so the Grateful Dead was there, and they actually wrote a song. Oh goodness, and now I'm going to space it out. But they wrote a song about that incident and that moment in time and stuff. So anyway, that was another of the festivals that they were at. The many.
Well, usually the goers were very mellow of Grateful Dead concerts. So, but
Yeah, of course.
But
Well, that was because the Hells Angels basically were,
Right,
sort of causing trouble and running the show.
Well, here's Throwing Stones from In the Dark, another successful track from the album.
Always awake, always around. Singing ashes, ashes all fall down. Ashes, ashes all fall down. Now watch as the ball revolves and the nighttime falls. Again the hunt begins, again the blood wind calls. Bright and bright again, the morning sun will rise. The darkness never goes from some men's eyes. Well, I know it strolls the sidewalks and it rolls the streets, staking turf, dividing up meat. Nightmare, spook, piece of heat. It's you and me.
Definitely the most political of all the songs that they ever wrote. Yeah, because they mentioned proletariats and just it's all about, the earth crying out that, you're abusing me and you're doing bad things and but then again, the morning sun will rise and everything will still happen, but they wanted to at least speak out, I think, about, a lot of the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And I found the name of the one. It was, now I lost it. New Speedway Boogie was the song about Altamont because it was at the raceway, the Speedway. And, yep. So that New Speedway Boogie is all about Altamont.
Wow.
Well, let's hear some of that.
Please don't
to say. If you please don't back up the track, this train's got to run today. I spent a little time on the mountain, spent a little time on the hill. Heard some say better run away, others say better stand still. Now I don't know, but I've been told it's hard to run with the weight of gold. On the other hand, I heard it said it's just as hard with the weight of lead. Who can deny, who can deny it's not.
Now, in 1987, they did a tour with Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And in 1989, an album came out called Dylan and the Dead, where it was all Bob Dylan songs.
Yeah.
With Bob Dylan singing and the Grateful Dead backing him up on stage. Are you familiar with the record?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, my friend, I didn't go see that tour or any of those shows, but one of my best friends, John Brunzell, went and saw, I think, the show in maybe in Eugene, but somewhere in Oregon. And yes, the Dead were already basically, of course, famous for playing a lot of Bob Dylan covers during their shows. As a matter of fact, I mentioned before on the Van Morrison show that It's All Over Now, Baby Blue was the first encore I saw at my first Dead show. And then I saw him do a lot of other Bob Dylan covers during shows. Those are great. Yeah, great shows.
Well, here's a little bit of their version of Knockin' on Heaven's Door, recorded in 1987 in Anaheim, California.
Oh, classic.
Mama, take that badge off of me. I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door.
Garcia had such a distinctive sense of timing from like jazz soloists like Miles Davis and Duke Ellington were some of his influences.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, it didn't hurt that when they brought Phil Lesh, the bass player, into the band, he played trumpet, but he was into sort of a lot of that same kind of stuff, and he definitely infused a little bit of jazz sort of elements. One of the biggest ones would be Unbroken Chain. That was a very culty song too, because they didn't play it live a lot. And if you saw an Unbroken Chain, it was like a big deal, sort of like if you saw a Dark Star. There were certain songs that they had
very
that
rare,
were, that were more rare and special. Unbroken Chain was definitely one of those songs, but it was very tough because it was in an off, time signature and very jazzy and it's funny. I actually have some recordings, sort of bootleg recordings of pre-show sound check stuff where Phil is teaching Jerry and Bob how the song and the timing of everything, and it's difficult. And Jerry's just like, "Wow, man, this is tough," you know.
Right before the show, lay it on me.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you saw, we heard a little snippet of an Unbroken Chain as a sound check before a show in Seattle, but they didn't end up playing it that night. They played it like another night down the road or something.
Well, I'm curious that there's a Grateful Dead video game that came out in 2012.
Yeah, I've never played it. I heard about it, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll have to look into that. As a gamer.
Back in 2012 or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the music never stopped. I mean, what song should we go out with today as we...
Well, you just talked about Unbroken Chain, so I think that would probably be a good one
yeah,
to
that's a great song
leave us with. And unfortunately, we are running out of time. So, guys, anything you want to plug or mention before we say goodbye today?
Well, the Viva ENT Rock, Pop, and Soul Facebook group.
Always want to get people
on board on
engaged, on that site, on that page.
And also subscribe to Devin Creisler Studios on YouTube and Devin Creisler Studios 2 also on YouTube.
And Do Train at Do Train on YouTube for my concert videos and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And next week we're going to do the grand finale of Viva ENT. This is the second to last show, unfortunately, but the music will live on,
of course,
in the archives. So,
and you never know, we could be back someday.
Yeah. I would love that. And of course, I do want to remind people we have an encore Tuesdays at 3:00 right here on KKNW. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Right.
There's a little bit of Unbroken Chain.
Yep. Thanks for coming on again, Darren.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
As I wait for the score, they're telling me forgiveness is the key to every door. A slow winter day and that lag forever